My man, Pharmacist Ben.
What's up, AJ?
How are you?
Ellen told me I had to talk into the microphone.
I know you sound like you're in a space shuttle.
She said, make sure you talk into the microphone.
It's like T-1. Like,
What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
How are you, man?
All right.
Yeah, I know
Stay
you.
happy here. I got
I
to
know
fly
you
out
have.
early in the AM.
Yeah, I know, and
Big Apple.
I appreciate you making. I appreciate you making the time to do the show because I know how busy.
AJ, I don't do it for you. I do it for the people, for the peeps.
Well, I'm showing appreciation for the people because I do. I get tons of texts and when's the show starting? Where are we at? What's going on?
Okay.
Where's Ben?
All right.
So I am thanking you for that, and because unlike everybody else, I do know how busy your schedule actually is. And welcome to another Pharmacist Ben's Bites or rootnotfruit.com. Everybody, check out that site. It is very helpful. Triangleofdisease.com. Please get there. Pharmacist Ben, our title today is PCOS is now PMOS.
Yeah, I thought that was cute. I thought that was really cute. What does it stand for?
It stands for, they're talking about the lymph now as opposed to
right. Say what the PCM, the whole thing stands for. The whole acronym.
It stands for polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome.
Okay, so that sounds scary, right? Oh my God. Polymetabolic endocrine ovarian syndrome or polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome. Oh my God. What do I have? Well, really what they're just trying to tell you, they used to say called polycystic ovarian syndrome, meaning you have lots of cysts, right? Polycysts. Now they call it polymetabolic endocrine ovarian syndrome, right? So they stuck in, what did they stick in there? Metabolic and endocrine, right? So it went from just cysts, right, to metabolic and endocrine. Why? Because cysts affect everything. The cysts make endocrine hormones, which affects your metabolism. It's just gibberish. It's everything disease. It's everything. Everything is everything. You don't have to worry about the specifics. In the old days, they used to focus on specific organs. Before we understood the body, it was a whole system where everything's interactive, everything's connected. And so when you have a system, one of the hallmarks of a system is there's going to be leverage points or choke points. All systems have choke points. That is points in the system that control everything else or a lot of other things. If you want to get healthy in a system, if you want to make a system healthy, your power comes at the leverage points, the choke points. Are you with me? The bottlenecks. Those are the things that cause the problems. So you have a bunch of pieces. Let me see if I can give you an example here. Well, like the classic example is digestive, the body, the biological system has choke points, right? The only major choke points, the only choke points you have to concern yourself with are the digestive system, the blood sugar system, and the adrenal thyroid link or the adrenal thyroid complex. What do we call that?
Triangle of disease.
Bingo. That's the choke. The reason those 3 points are so fundamental is because those are the choke points that control everything else. Primarily the digestive system, but also the metabolic system. So PCOS is like everything else, or what do they call it? PMOS.
PMOS, yes.
PMOS or PMEOS? Polymetabolic endocrine. Polymetabolic endocrine ovarian syndrome.
Well, polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome.
Right. They took out the cystic and they changed it to metabolic and ovarian. Or metabolic and endocrine. Why? Because the cyst changed the metabolism and the endocrine system. So they changed the C for the ME. It's the same stuff. Work on your digestive system, particularly around sugar and around food toxins or leaky gut. That's it. Then you stabilize the blood sugar. That's it. That's how you deal with PCOS. Now, if you want to throw in something else, you make your hormones in the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands make hormones, I should say. And so work on adrenal health too, calm the body down. But it'll naturally calm down once you take care of your hypoglycemia, your blood sugar issues, and the inflammatory molecules that are getting into the bloodstream. That's why I always say the third point is like, you don't have to worry as much as the first 2 points, which is why we focus on the plane or the 2 points at the bottom of the triangle. Listen, what is the major disease that smart people suffer from?
Overthinkitis.
Don't overthink. Don't overthink. And if you have an ovarian problem, you don't necessarily have to go to the OBGYN any more than if you have a digestive problem, you go to the GI doctor, and a heart problem, you go to the cardiologist, and a brain problem, you go to the neurologist. It's a system. Focus on the choke points. Digestion, blood sugar. That's metabolic. PCOS is a classic digestive and blood sugar condition.
In the article it mentioned that they changed it in their opinion because the syndrome, as you said, many things occurring, didn't always include cysts, but people still had the issue.
I see. Okay, I see what you're saying. All right, so yeah, that's fine. You don't necessarily need cysts because you could just have an ovarian condition. Cysts are just one of the things that can happen. That's true.
And that's why they
changed. The PCOS or PEMOS or PMEOS is it ME or PMEOS?
There's no E in it. PMOS.
Oh, they're not calling it metabolic endocrine. Okay, so
they're calling it polyendocrine metabolic.
So PEMS or PMOS.
But yeah, PM, they're not.
Okay. Yeah. All right. There is a major link between PCOS or whatever you want to call it now and the intestine and dysbiosis and a leaky gut. Major. And there's a major relation between intestinal distress and insulin resistance. And insulin resistance is involved with male hormones. Male hormones are also involved in this condition. You don't want to go crazy trying to deal with every single link. Digestion, blood sugar. Why is that complex? Why is this? Is it because we don't want to mess around with it? It sounds too simple.
People don't want to stop eating.
That's interesting because both digestion and blood sugar involve eating. And when you think about what we eat, obviously we're going to have problems. So that's that on PCOS.
And on a different topic, I got a woman who is in the doctors now, and Keely and I talked to her yesterday, and I talk to her almost every day, multiple times a day, and she's got some leg swelling. The doctor said that she had some potential congestive heart failure.
How old?
Just 62, somewhere. Wow. Younger, young. But very stressed out. Comes from an Eastern Bloc country, and they have that real elevated conversation style, and always seems to be stressed out and dealing with back pain and vertebrae, and it's just these things. Went to a chiropractor earlier today. I had advised she should probably just rest, but went to the chiropractor, and the chiropractor says she's out of alignment, totally out of alignment. So did whatever chiropractors do, and then I guess suffered so much that her family forced her to go to the emergency room or to the doctor, etc. And it's really hard to deal with folks whose expectation is that they will resolve their issues overnight. Had been doing pretty good before she had gotten some dental work done, and they gave her a couple of injections for, I guess, to numb before they were pulling out the teeth. And after that point, she started really suffering. So I'm mentioning this partially for an analysis. I mean, I didn't really give you much to go on, but also just to kind of highlight what I think, relaxation needs to be a part of people's
Why?
protocol.
Where does relaxation meet? Where do relaxation strategies meet biology? What part of the body?
The nervous system.
Bingo. So relaxation impacts the body via the nervous system, right? But you got two nervous systems, right? So which nervous system does relaxation interface with the body?
Parasympathetic.
Correct. That's why relaxation is so important, because all healing is in the realm of the parasympathetic nervous system. All illness or degeneration is in the realm of the sympathetic nervous system. So the parasympathetic is your building nervous system, your anti-inflammatory, your healing nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is your emergency nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is important because you got to deal with emergencies. But in our culture today, the sympathetic nervous system is not only overloaded, but it's overloaded below threshold. That's a very important point, because if you get overloaded to the point of something happening, you'll be able to create a change. You'll be able to, if a lion is chasing you, you'll know to run away from the lion. But if you're eating the wrong kinds of food and it's drip, 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 activating your sympathetic nervous system, you're not going to know. It's drip, drip, drip. And that's the kind of stress we suffer from in this culture. It's not the kind of stress that kills us or that makes us run. It's the kind of stress that just kind of eats at us over time, gradually. Thoreau said in the 19th century, men live lives of quiet desperation. And that's how we live. We just deal with things and we suppress things. It's not like we have massive emergencies. That book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, by Robert Sapolsky, says that zebras don't get ulcers because they don't have drip, drip, drip stress. They have emergency stress, the kind of stress that makes you run or die. So when a zebra is under stress, it either gets away from the stress, so it lives, or it doesn't get away from the stress and it dies. Either way, the situation is resolved. In our culture today, our situation isn't resolved. It's just drip, drip, drip stress, and we don't notice it until a symptom appears. And then a symptom appears, and because we haven't linked it to this drip, drip, drip stress, we don't know what to do. So activating the relaxation nervous system is critical, not just for reversing chronic degenerative disease, not just for preventing chronic degenerative disease, but for quality of life. Do you know Blaise Pascal was you've heard of Blaise Pascal, famous mathematician and philosopher. He said the hardest thing for a man to do, and all these people talk about men, but they meant men and women. They weren't just talking about men. He said the hardest thing for a man to do is sit in a room all by himself and doing nothing. Can you imagine how hard that would be to sit by yourself and do nothing? It doesn't sound like it'd be hard, right?
Do nothing? Do nothing would be hard.
Yeah, he says.
I got to build a website.
Yeah, you got to do stuff, right? But sitting there and doing nothing is a wonderful way to activate the relaxation response, to calm the body down, to tell the body to stand down. People can't do that. So that's why insomnia is such a problem. Our mind goes crazy. Learning to take care, learning the mind, man. It's about the mind. The body is secondary to the mind, although it's bidirectional, I would say. They both interact with each other, but mind power. Focus on your mind. Think about all our problems that are related to our mind, right? Aren't there
false evidence appearing real?
False evidence appearing real, and imagination, catastrophizing, and what can go wrong, and what's going to happen to me, and fear of death, and there's all kinds of things.
The light bill,
right? The rent, all that stuff. Your kids. But here's an interesting question. Considering the mind is so important, what is the mind? Right? I know, right? Right? Clearly it's important, but what the heck is it? These are important questions that transcend the Healthy Start Pack. But we're here to talk about the Healthy Start Pack. Your point is well taken, that you got to get the mind under control. You got to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. You got to learn to relax. I like what the Bible, it says. In the Bible, it says, Jesus says you have to be saved. Or I don't even know if that's in the Bible, but that's Christian dogma. You have to be saved, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's really, you have to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you have to be safe. You have to feel safe. You have to feel comfortable in the world. You have to feel okay. You have to be okay in the world, okay in your body, okay with yourself. That's the most important thing, is just to be okay, to be all right. And ironically, we're always okay in the moment. Like right now, you have everything you need. And you're never okay. You're going to die. You're on the way to death and demise. So get over it. We're missing our lives. But I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the Healthy Start Pack. I want to talk about nutritional supplementation.
Well,
and by the way, the body will go into duress mode, or cells will go into duress mode, when they don't have raw materials, when they don't have resources. The lack of resources, nutritional resources, in terms of physiology, oxygen, lack of oxygen, those will cause the body to go into stress mode, into a sympathetic nervous system activation. So that's why muscle relaxation is so important for things like high blood pressure or arthritis or chronic pain or digestive health issues. Learning to activate the parasympathetic nervous system is critical. All of that. Dis-ease is dis-ease. You're out of ease. Dis-ease is when you're out of ease. That's sympathetic. Ease is parasympathetic. Dis-ease to ease. That's the direction you want to take. All right, but I got to go here in a few minutes, so let's get some questions.
Well, before we get questions, the second portion of our title dealt with
tattoos. The
tattoos and lymphoma. And
I know. Well, what do you think happens when you inject ink into your body, through your skin? Of course, you're going to run risks of lymphatic problems. Lymphoma is a cancer of the immune system. So, it's crazy. First of all, I never understood. Do you have any tattoos?
Not a one.
I don't have any tattoos. I never understood the whole thing with tattoos, but maybe you like them. They're pretty. They're artistic. That's fine, but they're not good for you from a health perspective. You're putting ink in your body, toxic ink.
I hung out at a tattoo shop, and I actually saw Paris Jackson get a tattoo once.
You really did? In person?
Yeah,
in person?
I was there. Yeah.
Was she in New York? Paris Jackson was in New York?
She was hanging out in New York, yeah.
Did you just run into her, or you knew her? Or?
Well, no, she came to the tattoo shop.
Well, were you working in the tattoo shop?
I was hanging out at the tattoo shop.
And she walked in randomly?
Well, maybe she knew one of the tattoo artists prior, but it was one of the ones on West 4th Street that stayed open late at the time.
How old was she?
Yeah, she was not
20?
mature. She was
like a kid?
So let's say this was less than 10 years ago. And
so she was probably 20.
She was cute. Now she's stunning.
Paris Jackson.
Have you ever seen her?
I haven't. No. I can't believe. You know how long ago Michael Jackson died?
I know, it's been a while, right?
It's crazy, right? 2009.
Oh man, has it been that long?
Can you believe it?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's 17 years. 17 years ago, he's been gone.
And Prince, but now what they said was there were 316 pairs of twins that they analyzed, and one half of the twins did not get the tattoo, and the other half of the twin got the tattoo, and he had a 62% increase in the probability of getting a lymphoma.
Well, that makes perfect sense. I mean, you're injecting ink into your body. I don't know enough about tattoos to know how far the ink goes, but I can't imagine it doesn't get somehow into the circulatory system, into the lymph on some level, and it activates an immune response. Mm-hmm. It's ink. It's in your body. Mm-hmm. Ink is not supposed to be in your body. I don't even know what the ink is, to tell you the truth. But it's permanent, so it must be something that's, it doesn't wash off. So it's got to be something sticky.
And I guess there's no way to do a vitamin C tattoo, right? So they couldn't inject.
If you are doing tattoos, you want to make sure you're doing a lot of nutrients. That reminds me of this thing. Not to remind me, but it makes me think of this guy. I did a Zoom call with Bronny before this, right? And so this guy comes on and he says soot. Somebody's sending soot. Soot is a major carcinogen. Major. In fact, cancer was really discovered in soot as a reaction to soot by chimney sweep. They used to send little kids in London, in England during the Industrial Revolution. They would send little kids to clean chimneys. That was their job, and the little kids would get testicular cancer. And that soot was one of the first places was one of the first places they noticed carcinogens. So yes, if you're putting soot in your blood, that's not a good thing. So anyway, I did this. I was on this Zoom call with Bronny, and this guy comes up and he says, the shingles vaccine it cuts Alzheimer's disease, incidence of Alzheimer's disease. He said he read it. Okay, fine. Then you think about it. How would that even happen? Well, it turns out that if you go online and you look it up, you'll see that there's studies that show that
5 people.
No studies, but what they don't filter for is how do you know that people get the shingles vaccine also? Maybe they supplement also, or maybe they pay more attention to their health, or maybe they are more cognizant of Alzheimer's disease. You don't know. These are epidemiological studies where they just have questionnaires. They're not causal. You can't prove things are causal. So, when you talk about things like tattoos and sticking ink in your blood, you just got to use your logic. Whether or not it's proven that ink that people have people get tattoos are at higher risk for cancer. We don't know that definitively, but just use your logic. You're putting a toxin into your system. That is how cells get disturbed. That's how chemistry gets disturbed. So you just got to work with mechanisms. You got to work with logic. If you have a toxic substance and you put it in your blood, yes, or you put it into your circulatory system, yes, the chances are good that you're going to disturb your immune system and you could get cancer. It's just logic. Okay. Anyway, let's get a couple questions because I got to go.
I don't know if we want to. I don't know if you want to approach this question. Bernadette saying, upset friend's daughter, age 15, wants to be male. Any advice?
That whole transgender thing, it's more political than anything else. The girl wants to be a boy. That's not really a nutritional thing. Although I think Dr. Wallach used to say it was a nutritional thing.
Dr. Wallach said they're not getting lithium.
Is that what he said?
Mm-hmm. Or minerals, but one being lithium.
Okay. I don't know if that's a nutritional thing. It's more a psychological thing. I think it's interesting how when I was growing up, the transgender was really weird. I mean, I never heard of it even. Did you, when you were growing up, ever hear of transgender?
Not transgender because they didn't have the surgery and technology, but there were some kids that I know that dressed differently.
Yeah, I never. It seems to be a modern thing. I don't have any idea, but I do know that there are hormone disruptors that we're immersed in our culture, and gender is largely determined, or at least affected, if not determined, affected by hormones.
There's something about tadpoles and some frogs.
That's what Alex Jones. He was. In his own Alex Jones way, they're making the frogs gay, and everybody got all mad. Yeah, they don't want to make frogs gay. And everybody all made fun of him, but he was right. They're not making the frogs. He was just joking. That's how he is. But his point was that animals like tadpoles are becoming hermaphroditic. They're developing male and female sexual characteristics. So, it could be what's in the water. It could easily be because there's hormone disruptors everywhere. They call them endocrine disruptors, hormone disruptors, and they change the way hormones. They change the way the body responds to hormones. So I don't really transgender. I think people should do whatever they want to do. Kids, it's a little different, because they're kids. So you don't necessarily want to do, let your kid do whatever he wants to do, but people should be whatever gender they want to be. I don't have a problem.
Yeah, I agree with you, but there's a good number of people who regretted having surgeries.
That's why you don't want kids to do it, because they're too young to make their own decisions. But yeah, if you, if somebody really feels like they want to be a different gender, more power to them. Be whatever gender you want to be. I don't have an issue with that.
Really saying.
Colorado, by the way, was one of the first places where these surgical procedures took place. In Trinidad, I think it was Trinidad, Colorado. I'm pretty sure. And when I was started in pharmacy school, I used to have to drive to people's homes to deliver hormones because they were going to Trinidad and they were going to have not homes but hotels. They were staying in Colorado and they needed hormones because they were going into surgery. So they used to pre-treat you with hormones. So I got to meet a lot of transgender people who were about to have the surgical procedure, and they were really beautiful people. They were good people. Yeah, they were really. I enjoyed.
But I didn't know that you were a part of the movement. I didn't know that
I wasn't necessarily part of the
you
movement,
were
but
a
I used to
facilitator.
yeah, I was kind of facilitating with hormones as a pharmacist. But I got to know them and I got to talk to them, and they were all really, really nice, kind people, very gentle,
Of course.
very, very sensitive people. So whatever gender you want, I don't have a problem with that. But kids are different. So somebody's asked about Lyme disease.
Yeah.
Okay. Now there's two kinds of Lyme disease. Well, there's one kind of Lyme disease, but there's two guises of it. One is Lyme disease, which is an infection. You take antibiotics and it's gone. The other is chronic Lyme disease. That doesn't go away. Whenever you have a chronic condition that does not go away, even though it should, like an infection like COVID, long COVID, or a chronic Lyme, what part of the body do you think is always going to be implicated?
Could it be the digestive system?
The intestine, always. Always. And people who have chronic Lyme disease have high levels of LPSs, endotoxins, histamines. These are all things that get secreted into the blood through a leaky gut. It's a gut problem. Same with long COVID. Okay. Anytime you have a condition that does not reverse itself when it's supposed to, such as a chronic degenerative disease or a long infection that should resolve, and it doesn't, suspect immune activation through a leaky gut into the blood. Work on digestive health. That's my suggestions. And if you keep going to doctors, they're never going to tell you this. They don't know. But get online and just look it up. Get on right now and look up chronic Lyme and endotoxins, or chronic Lyme and LPS, or chronic Lyme and leaky gut. What does this say?
I don't have that, but what I did pull up was your gut immune repair.
Not mine. Look up chronic Lyme and endotoxins, or LPS.
Okay, so it says, Pharmacist Ben is right. It says unique expression of chronic Lyme disease in Jarish. It's believed that the result of endotoxins released from the Spirocte.
Those are bacteria in the gut.
Or possibly a cytokine-mediated response.
I don't need the internet to prove it. I know it because it's logic. But I just want to show you. Okay, that I'm not. You don't need the proof. You just have to understand how the body works. That's how toxins get into the system. That's how the immune system becomes compromised, unless you inject, and that's why you got to be careful about injecting. Okay, and do the research on it. You'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've not steered me wrong, Julie. If you need some help, what I would suggest is that you come to, because Pharmacist Ben mentioned that he wanted you to work on the person's gut. You might want to come here to rootnotfruit.com and see the gut immune repair protocol. And we got the I-26, we got the nightly essence, we got the ultimate enzymes, and the ZRadical. And that is to be worked with the Healthy Body Start Pack. So that is something that you can do. And you can also call us at 855-949-3377. That is where this person is calling now. They called 4 times, so they must have a question that they wanted to ask us on air, but I was unable to answer because you were in the midst of describing something else. So that is the case. But there's Pharmacist Ben's beautiful face, and you can come here and see some of the protocols. We got the gut immune repair, we got the metabolic reset, and we have the skyscraper protocol. So come to the site and you can see some of the things that are going to be very helpful for you and your family and friends. And never forget to go to Triangle of Disease to kind of understand what Pharmacist Ben mentioned. He talked about the 2 points of the triangle, the digestive system and the blood sugar system being very important for all chronic disease. So come here to this site and you can learn more, get more information, and help you and your friends and family.
And distributors, we need distributors. We'll teach you everything you want to know about nutrition and the longevity products and how to help your friends and family and loved ones and strangers and people in your life. We'll help you. Everything's reversible, you guys. Everything is reversible. Everything in the way of chronic degenerative disease, even stage 4 cancer, which is a little trickier, but it's still reversible. Spontaneous remissions occur all the time. So please understand, with your chronic degenerative disease, if you're dealing with a chronic degenerative disease, it is reversible. But what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So you got to do things differently. We can teach you how to do that. And we can teach you how to teach others to do that. Okay, Jay, I got to motivate. Have a beautiful, wonderful day or night. And I will talk to you next Friday.
Fly safely.
Thank you, buddy. Bye.
Thank you.
In this generated video, a single red blood cell slowly deflates and loses its color in a dark void. This is the visual reality of anemia, a condition where the blood lacks the healthy cells needed to transport oxygen. Every day, millions dutifully swallow iron supplements to combat this, yet their blood work remains unchanged. We often blame the supplement's quality or the brand's strength, but the true flaw lies within the body's internal delivery system. Swallowing a mineral is merely the first step. It does not guarantee your body will actually absorb it. If the physiological pipeline is blocked, the raw material is useless. Resolving chronic anemia requires a structural mission to unblock 3 specific anatomical bottlenecks, a goal that remains out of reach by simply increasing the daily dosage. The journey begins at the stomach, the first critical barrier. To break down raw iron, the stomach must maintain an intensely corrosive environment with a pH level between 1 and 2. pH is a scale used to specify the acidity or basicity of an aqueous solution. Manufacturing this hydrochloric battery acid requires a steady supply of chloride, the essential raw material the body uses to fuel digestion. This historic photograph shows workers mining raw salt deep underground. Historically, the body relied on sodium chloride to produce digestive acids. However, modern medically recommended low-salt diets can inadvertently starve the stomach of this critical building block. Without adequate chloride, acid production drops. The iron capsule remains intact, passing through the stomach without ever being dissolved or utilized. Supplementing iron while simultaneously restricting salt creates a biochemical stalemate. The body lacks the tools to process the very nutrients it needs. If the iron manages to dissolve, it reaches the small intestine. This is the primary site where minerals cross the final barrier into the bloodstream. This microscopic image shows healthy intestinal villi. These are tiny, finger-like structures that act like an absorbent shag rug, maximizing the surface area available to capture nutrients. This historic photograph captures workers threshing wheat in the field. Modern wheat, barley, rye, and oats all contain gluten, a protein that can act as a contact toxin for sensitive intestinal tissues. Upon contact with gluten, these delicate villi swell up, suffocating their internal blood supply. Eventually, they die off, leaving behind restrictive scar tissue. This animated diagram illustrates the physical damage. The complex, folded surface on the left flattens into the smooth line on the right, causing the absorptive surface area to plummet by 98%. The intestine transforms into a non-absorbent plastic tube. Once the gut becomes a smooth tube, systemic malnutrition is inevitable. At this stage, no amount of oral iron can penetrate the scarred barrier. This microscopic image shows the bone marrow matrix, located deep within the skeletal system. This is the final destination for successfully absorbed iron. By focusing on the dense clusters of purple-stained cells, we can see the body's active manufacturing zones. The marrow is a high-speed factory, and iron is only one of the materials required to build a red blood cell. To keep the assembly line moving, the body requires cofactors, helper nutrients like copper, zinc, and vitamin B12. These work alongside the foundational 90 essential nutrients to complete the synthesis of blood. If the factory lacks structural materials like collagen or is missing one minor cofactor, production halts. The machinery remains idle despite the presence of iron. Chronic anemia is frequently the signal of a total factory failure in the marrow, caused by these missing cofactors rather than a simple iron deficit. Clearing these bottlenecks requires a roadmap to repair the anatomy and restore the body's natural production. Step 1 is the immediate elimination of all dietary gluten. This stops the ongoing scarring and allows the delicate intestinal villi to slowly regrow their vital absorptive texture. Step 2 focuses on the stomach. Reintroducing salt to taste and using digestive enzyme supplements helps restore the corrosive environment needed to dissolve minerals effectively. Next, flood the system with the 90 essential nutrients, specifically copper, alongside collagen and MSM. MSM is a naturally occurring sulfur compound the body uses to provide structural scaffolding for tissues. Step 5 utilizes highly bioavailable liquid mineral supplements. These bypass many digestive hurdles to ensure the factory in the bone marrow finally receives its missing components. Chronic anemia is a mechanical failure, not a permanent genetic sentence. By finally unblocking the supply chain, you give your body the exact tools it needs to rebuild itself.
All right, folks. So, because Pharmacist Ben had to depart a bit early today, I am attempting to upload a new video that we're going to premiere together as soon as it is done processing. It may take another couple minutes or so. If folks have any commentary, I do want to thank you all for tuning in. Becky, it will be amazing to have you as part of the team and helping your community. And Bruce, as usual, thank you for being such a big part of what we do. And let's see who else we got here. We have Victor, of course, and Bernadette. Thank you for being here. Please, if you are out there on any of the platforms, just send us a little note. Tell us where you are watching from. And Julie, thank you very much for your question earlier. If you're watching on a platform still, please let us know where you are tuning in from, because we like to know where folks are watching from. It'll be another minute or so, and I'll be able to premiere our new video. Any questions or commentary in the chats? Let's see. I don't see any questions or commentary in the chats. So while the video is being uploaded, I'm going to play a portion of another one of our videos, but do stay tuned because I have a very brand new, never seen before video coming up. But first, we're going to watch this one, which we played last week.
You survived cancer, but the treatments that saved your life often leave the body in a state of extreme physical trauma. You may find yourself dealing with shedding tissue, exposed nerve endings, and constant pain. Standard pharmaceutical relief frequently fails in these cases because the core issue is structural. Your connective tissue matrix, the biological womb where your cells live, has physically dissolved. Healing this environment is a mechanical process. It requires rebuilding the matrix from the ground up using specific raw materials. By following a strict 5-step recipe, you can provide the body with the components needed to patch raw nerve endings and reconstruct your cellular matrix. Step 1 is vitamin C. This nutrient acts as the absolute biological rate limiter for tissue creation, meaning your body is physically unable to manufacture new connective tissue without it. In cases of extreme post-cancer tissue trauma, standard oral doses are generally insufficient to meet the body's repair demands. Intravenous vitamin C allows for much higher concentrations to reach the matrix, where it serves as a primary anti-inflammatory and natural pain reliever. Step 2 involves polysaccharides. The matrix is a wet environment that requires specific biological mush to maintain its structure. You can source these materials from FucoidZ, algae, aloe vera, and fresh vegetable juices. These polysaccharides act as sticky electromagnetic seeds. They bind with water to create a protective barrier that patches up raw, exposed nerve endings. Combining the rate-limiting power of vitamin C with these electromagnetic seeds creates the foundational environment necessary to sustain new cellular life. Step 3 is the scaffolding. Your body cannot synthesize new tissue out of thin air. It requires heavy structural rebar to replace what was shredded. To saturate the system, you need specific structural elements: collagen peptides, high-quality whey protein, and specialized glucogel capsules. Treat this post-cancer matrix damage with the same aggressive structural approach used to address severe degenerative arthritis. Step 4 is stopping the leak. Providing premium raw materials is useless if you continue to subject the system to metabolic stress. This illustrates the futility of building while simultaneously destroying. You cannot repair a house while the foundation is being undermined. This requires an immediate halt to toxic inputs, specifically fried fats, processed sugars, and the standard American diet. Physical recovery remains impossible if the intake of inflammatory toxins outpaces your body's ability to lay down new connective rebar. The fifth and final requirement for this protocol is neurological. The body suspends tissue rebuilding when stuck in a sympathetic emergency mode, blocking nutrients from entering the matrix. Repair only occurs when shifting into a parasympathetic state, rest and digest. This is the exclusive environment where connective repair is permitted. You can force the body into this state through mechanical actions like deep diaphragmatic breathing, targeted gratitude, and prayer. Regulating your thoughts gives the biological machinery the necessary permission to divert energy away from defense and toward healing. Without this neurological signal, even a perfect diet and supplement protocol will remain dormant and unused by yourselves. The matrix reconstruction protocol is complete. These 5 pillars, vitamin C, polysaccharides, structural proteins, toxin removal, and a regulated nervous system, rebuild the body. The human body is a regenerating machine designed to renew itself continually. Healing is your body's default nature, the moment it is provided with the correct raw materials and relieved of metabolic stress. You can move past the fear of your symptoms. By beginning the mechanical reconstruction protocol today, you can take back control of your internal matrix.
Okay, folks. So thanks for hanging out. I'm going to now, and there's only a few of us who have stuck it out till the end. We are now going to premiere our newest video. Hopefully you like it. Give us some comments.
A diagnosis of ALS, or severe muscle wasting, is often treated as an inescapable genetic sentence. The prevailing medical view is that your body has simply decided to fail, and there is no intervention capable of stopping the decline. When we view these conditions as a systemic metabolic breakdown, the focus shifts from a mysterious destiny to a mechanical reality. We stop looking for curses and start looking for failures in the body's self-repair systems. Pharmacist Ben Fuchs describes human health as a constant balancing act on a biological seesaw. On one side is anabolism, building tissue. On the other, catabolism, breaking it down. In extreme muscle wasting, that seesaw violently snaps. The body becomes trapped in runaway catabolism. It's a terrifying reality. Your body is actively consuming its muscle tissue, literally eating itself faster than it can patch the damage and rebuild. You cannot out-medicate this state of decay. To actually halt the decline, you have to answer the root question: what triggered the body to attack its own tissue in the first place? There is a core principle in holistic health. Where you see the problem is almost never where the problem begins. To understand dying muscles in the limbs, we have to trace the physiological forensics backward, straight to the digestive system. When you consume highly inflammatory foods, like processed fats and refined sugars, they damage the delicate lining of your intestines. Over time, these irritants punch microscopic holes in that barrier, a condition known as leaky gut. Instead of absorbing nutrients, your compromised gut allows a flood of bacterial debris and undigested food particles to leak directly into your bloodstream. This debris turns the blood thick and toxic, a state pharmacist Ben calls dirty blood. To protect your vital organs from this contamination, your body shunts this debris toward the periphery, the connective tissues and limbs. Simultaneously, the blood thickens in an immune response to trap the toxins. This sluggish, hypercoagulable blood can no longer navigate the microscopic capillaries that feed your cells, leaving the muscles suffocating and functionally starving. Bathed in this acidic, oxygen-depleted environment, the muscle tissue reaches a breaking point. Individual cells begin to die, and as Ben describes it, they literally explode, spewing their internal enzymes and acids directly into the surrounding tissue. This cell explosion creates a vicious cycle. The debris from the ruptured cells floods the kidneys, straining your primary filters and triggering massive inflammation that drives the body into even more aggressive muscle catabolism. You cannot rebuild a house in the middle of a hurricane. Before any repair can begin, you must execute an emergency triage response and completely cut off the stream of toxicity. The fastest way to do that is a 24 to 48-hour water fast. By stopping the intake of food entirely, you stop the influx of toxins and give your hyperactive immune system and overworked digestive tract a mandatory reset. When you resume eating, the guesswork has to end. You must keep a strict food diary to track how your body responds to every meal, allowing you to identify and permanently eliminate the specific triggers causing your inflammation. With the toxic influx stopped, you have to clean up the wreckage in the blood. This requires taking systemic enzymes, specifically ultimate enzymes, on a completely empty stomach. Because there is no food in the stomach to digest, these enzymes pass directly into the bloodstream. They act like a roto-rooter for the vascular system, seeking out and dissolving the inflammatory proteins and dead cellular debris clogging the blood flow. By sealing the gut, neutralizing the blood debris, and aggressively flushing the kidneys with water and plant-derived minerals, the emergency is contained. The body is finally prepared for the rebuilding phase. Now you transition to the offensive strategy. To restore the atrophied limbs, you have to move the biological seesaw out of breakdown and back into anabolism. Muscles are composed almost entirely of protein. Synthesizing new muscle fibers is chemically impossible if your body lacks the exact raw materials required to build them. You must saturate your system with branched-chain amino acids and whey protein. These are the building blocks that trigger muscle repair and growth without placing a heavy metabolic burden on your digestive system. Creatine is also a necessary addition for any condition involving muscle wasting. It provides the essential energy to protect fragile, recovering muscle tissue while simultaneously supporting neurological health. But muscle fibers do not exist in a vacuum. They require a physical, structural matrix, the body's internal scaffolding, to attach and anchor themselves to. The healthy bone and joint pack, glucogel caps, and collagen peptides provide the critical goo and fibers necessary to rebuild the entire physical framework that holds the muscles in place. A rebuilt structure and new muscle fibers provide the potential for movement, but the nerves provide the command. Without a healthy electrical signal, the muscles remain dormant. To restore the grid, you have to saturate the cells with all 90 essential nutrients, focusing specifically on those that facilitate electrical nerve conduction. This brings us to thiamine, or vitamin B1. Historical biochemical discoveries proved that severe nerve pain and the wooden legs of peripheral neuropathy were directly reversed by reintroducing this vitamin to the diet. Thiamine restores the electrical conduction required for nerves to function. It allows signals from the brain to travel without interruption and successfully fire the muscle fibers. This is the protocol's goal: clean blood, rebuilt structure, and restored electrical signals working together in perfect coordination. A diagnosis of severe muscle wasting is not a mandate for passive decline. By controlling the gut, clearing the blood, and feeding the growth pathways, patients have the agency to redirect their metabolism from active breakdown towards structural renewal.
All right, folks, and that is our show for tonight. I really thank you all for being here, and thank you for being part of the team, and we will see you next time.